this a little bit more later, but the amount of effort that for you as the test person, assuming you're going to be in charge of leading the quality risk analysis and so forth, really what you're looking at is less than 40 hours at the beginning doing the first risk analysis if you're doing a big project and it's following some sequential type of life cycle model, and then that's going to require only periodic updates from you. And 40 hours is pretty much worst case. We've seen it done, the initial risk analysis done in as little as 20 hours. And if you're following an agile type of life cycle, then your risk analysis really might be as brief as an hour or two and sort of bolted on to the whole process of defining the user stories. So in exchange for that moderate investment of your time, what you will get back is a really significant increase in your efficiency and your focus, and what you might very well find is that some things can fall off the plate, if you will. They can be dropped, and thus the long-term effect, as I said, will be to decrease the test effort. All right, now I've been talking about this in the abstract, and what I want to do now is shift gears totally to being very specific and taking a case study, because I think I can illustrate what this is like and what it feels like to work on a project that's doing risk-based testing, to be involved in that process better if I walk you through a case study. So one of our clients, CA, is a big fan of this stuff, and they've done a number of pilot launches of risk-based testing, and I've been myself and my associates have been involved in those. Been very successful, done them around the world. And this case study actually describes the first pilot of risk-based testing that we did for them at their offices in Pittsburgh. So there were 6 main activities that were involved in this pilot. The first 3 basically were done during the initial week of my being there, and then the remaining ones were done over the course of the project. So there's 1-day training of the stakeholders on risk-based testing, how it works. There's a 1-day quality risk analysis session, which I will describe in detail here in a minute. There's analysis and refinement of the quality risk analysis to make sure that we've got the risks right and the ratings right. Then, as the pilot continued during the project, there was an alignment of the testing with the quality risks, guiding the testing based on the risks, and assessing the benefits and lessons at the end as a sort of a retrospective. Now, obviously, a lot of things went on in that project and in that week, and I'm going to try to touch on what I consider to be the key points to take away from that, the most important things. Obviously, there are more details about this pilot, and if you go out to the RBCS website on the, I believe it's the Resources Basic Library selection, you'll find an article that we wrote, myself and 2 of the other people involved in the pilot, describing the pilot. So I believe it's on the basic library page, or it might also be on the articles page. So you can read a full 10 or 12-page description that's a little bit more complete than what I can touch on here in this webinar, and get a better sense of the details. I also want to mention that in addition to this article out on the website, we do have a sequence of videos that we're doing over the year that are coming out, free videos. They're in the digital library, and they're also on, I think they're on iTunes and YouTube, and you can get to them there. And these will also go into more detail on specific points of the risk-based testing process, and they're free resources. In addition, there is a video of a 2.5-hour presentation that I did in Melbourne in Australia on risk-based testing that covers not just what I'm going to talk about today, but a number of other additional details like life cycle models and details of how to document and options for different ways of approaching things and so forth. So that's on the digital library page if you're interested in that. So this is going to be kind of a, and I wouldn't say a quick overview, but I would say a selective summary, if you will, or selective examination of some of the key things that happened during that pilot. And just want to make sure you're aware that there's a lot more additional supporting information available on the website, so you can drill into some of the details of what I'm going to touch upon here. But let's look at these 6 activities and talk about what happens with that and what did happen in this case. So the first thing, on the first day of the 1-week pilot, we did a training for the participants and the stakeholders. Now, I would encourage you, if you are going to do risk-based testing, that you do have a training session that ideally everybody who's going to participate, including the business and technical stakeholders, for the first time they go through that so that they understand what they're doing. Now, I know that sometimes that can be a tough sell, and maybe some of the stakeholders will say, oh, I really don't have time for that. But if you can get them in there, that's great. At the very least, you'd want to make sure that all the people in the test team who are going to be involved in risk-based testing have gone through this process. So the 1-day training has principles of and rationale for risk-based testing. So what are we trying to accomplish, and what are the basic principles of it, what are the benefits? Then a discussion of categories of quality risk. Now there are some 24 categories of quality risks that you want to be sure to look at in your quality risk analysis. It's not just functionality. A lot of people make the mistake of just looking at functionality, but you want to look at performance and reliability and maintenance and localization and a number of other of these categories in order to make sure that you cover all the important attributes. And out on the RBCS website again, I believe it's on the basic library page, towards the bottom, you'll find associated with quality risk analysis process a generic quality risks checklist that has the 24 or so quality risk categories in it, and I'd encourage you to take a look at that if you're curious about what those are. Training continued to cover the analysis of quality risks, and so the identification and assessment, how to align the testing with the levels of risk, how to document quality risks in a lightweight yet adequate and maintainable template, how to monitor quality risks during test execution and report risk-based test results. So this training is a 1-day training. It's a presentation and discussion and exercise. We include this at the beginning of all of our 1-week risk-based testing jump starts as a first step. We also have this available as a 1-day standalone training, and we'll also have it available now as an e-learning, so we have a number of resources that support this. So with the training done, we now move on into the actual quality risk analysis session. Now, I'm going to talk in a second about how we did it here, but I want to make sure that you're aware that you have basically 2 options. So one option that you can use for quality risk analysis is a sequence of one-on-one interviews with the various business and technical stakeholders. And each of those interviews lasts about 90 to 120 minutes. So that's roughly the time investment that you're looking for from the various stakeholders. And you will go through and identify quality risks based on the quality risk categories that I mentioned with each of those stakeholders. And you will also assess the likelihood and impact of those quality risks. Each of the